Hi everyone, I'll be taking the topic hormones and their functions in video 3. So let's get started. The first gland I'm going to analyze is the pituitary gland, and we know the pituitary gland is divided into three parts: pars distalis, pars intermedia and pars nervosa. The hormones secreted by pars distalis are the growth hormone, prolactin, TSH, ACTH, FSH and LH. GH is growth hormone. It stimulates the growth of the body. PRL stands for prolactin. It stimulates the growth of the mammary glands for lactation. This is after parturition. A lot of prolactin is released to enable lactation of the young one. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormones. It stimulates the synthesis and secretion of the thyroid hormones from the thyroid glands. We know the thyroid gland secretes three hormones: T3, T4 and TCT. All these are influenced by the TSH. ACTH stands for adrenocorticotrophic hormone. A stands for adreno, C stands for cortico, and T trophic, and H stands for hormone. It stimulates the synthesis and secretion of the glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. We know the adrenal cortex, we all are going to study that secretes the three sets of hormones: glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids and gonadocorticoids. The glucocorticoids are under the influence of ACTH, secreted from the pars distalis. FSH, it stimulates the follicles which is surrounding the ovaries and enables the production of estrogen. So, stimulate follicular maturation and production of estrogen. And last we have the luteinizing hormones in males and in females. In males, it induces spermatogenesis and stimulates the Leydig cells to secrete testosterone. In females, the luteinizing hormone induces ovulation and maintenance of the corpus luteum. This you will understand when I deal with the chapter reproduction in the 12th standard. As of now, you just understand the two important processes they are influencing. In males, it influences the process called spermatogenesis. In females, it influences a process called ovulation. Then the second function in males, it helps in the secretion of the hormone called testosterone from the source called Leydig cells. And in females, remember, there is a structure called corpus luteum. It helps in the maintenance of this structure called corpus luteum. So these are the 6 hormones produced by pars distalis. Then pars intermedia secretes the hormones, melanocyte stimulating hormones. As the name suggests, it acts on the melanocytes and regulates skin pigmentation. We are dark or light or fair or wheatish, etc. due to the melanocytes, which are controlled by the melanocyte stimulating hormones. Then pars nervosa secretes 2 important hormones, ADH. Another name for ADH is vasopressin. And we have already learnt in the excretory system, vasopressin helps, or ADH helps in the reabsorption of water from the renal tubule and thereby conserving water. We do not lose water through the urine. So, it reduces diuresis. That means hypertonic urine by reabsorption of water from the renal tubule. Oxytocin is again another hormone produced after birth, that is after parturition, after labor, that enables or it ejects milk. And not only that, this hormone is very, very important at the time of labor. It helps to initiate labor and also milk ejection. So, it is only at the end of gestation, when time of childbirth, this particular hormone is released by the pituitary gland. And that too, if it is not released naturally, it is induced by drip or by injection. This particular oxytocin is injected into the mother who is in full term of pregnancy, and this initiates the labor pain. And thus mild and mild contraction of the uterus and childbirth occurs. And not only that, once the child is born, the ejection of milk from the breast is because of oxytocin. So, very important, it is also a milk ejection hormone, and also it helps in labor. So, this is all about the pituitary gland. Next, pineal gland. Pineal gland secretes the hormone melatonin. It regulates the 24-hour rhythm. To make it clear, the sleep-wake cycles. You know, you sleep and you wake up automatically. Most of us, by now, you all are big children, you get up by yourself. Even if there's a holiday also, there's a tendency to wake up and thinking it's a holiday, you sleep back. Okay, that waking up and the sleep cycle is like a biological clock regulated by melatonin released by the pineal body, just like as though there's a clock or alarm fixed in your body that you might be experiencing. You wake up by yourself. You need not wait for the sun's light to flash on you, or you need not wait for it to be dark or black sky for you to go sleep at night. You fall asleep. So the sleep-wake rhythm is brought about by melatonin. Not only that, there's another biological cycle, a menstrual cycle. Correctly, it falls on the 30th day or 28th day or 40th day, whatever be. Almost around that time, we get our menses. That is correctly because of the melatonin. Then it also regulates temperature, metabolism, also to some extent defense capability of our body, and also a very small extent it influences the skin pigmentation. That's why the name melatonin. So that's all about melatonin, which is released by the pineal gland, which is located at the dorsal side of the brain. So once again, regulates the 24-hour rhythm. To make it clear, the sleep-wake cycle, then the body temperature, metabolism, menstrual cycle, defense capability, and also to some extent skin pigmentation. Thyroid hormone stimulates two very important hormones. The production of these two hormones are mainly depending on iodine in our diet. The name of these hormones is, one is triiodothyronin, and the other hormone is tetraiodothyronin. So from this you understand that the production of T3 and T4 depends upon the iodine content, and this iodine is obtained from the food you take. So the food should have high iodine, especially seafoods and salt contains iodine, and this enables the production of T3 and T4 from the thyroid gland. And you get a clue because the full form is triiodothyronin and the other one is tetraiodothyronin. Now the functions of these two is, it regulates the BMR, the basal metabolic rate, the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats and proteins, maintains the water and electrolyte balance of our body, and supports RBC formation. So these are very, very vital. It enables or helps in these functions. The basal metabolism of our body helps in the metabolism of the main foodstuffs like carbohydrate, fats, proteins. That maintains the water and electrolyte balance of our body and support RBC formation. Then there's another hormone released by the thyroid, that is called the thyrocalcitonin. So this T stands for thyro, C stands for calci, and T stands for tonin. So TCT is a short form. It helps or controls the blood calcium levels. So these are the three hormones secreted by the thyroid gland. Next, moving on to the parathyroid gland, it secretes the hormone parathyroid hormone. The full form is parathyroid hormone. And the function of the parathyroid hormone is, it increases the calcium level in the blood. How it increases the calcium level in the blood? One is by stimulating bone resorption. What's the meaning of resorption? Demineralization. So when the bone gets demineralized, some of the calcium gets into the blood and thereby increase the calcium level in our blood. Then second is stimulates the reabsorption of calcium from the renal tubule. Second method is from the renal tubule, the calcium is not lost through our urine, it's reabsorbed from the renal tubule. And the third method is by simple absorption of calcium from the digested food. That is, in digestion, a lot of calcium, we eat a lot of calcium food, that's not lost through the digestive system. What happens is, it's being absorbed. The calcium is absorbed from the digested food, especially in the small intestine. So this is how the calcium level in our blood is retained. Calcium is necessary to some extent. So this hormone is very, very instrumental in bringing about the high level of calcium in our blood, the correct level of calcium. It is counter controlled by TCT. So these two, TCT and PTH are working to make the calcium level optimal. So once again, how the PTH is working? It increases the calcium level. So this is by increasing the calcium level in the blood by, one method is by stimulating bone resorption, bone demineralization, stimulating reabsorption of calcium from the renal tubules, and third by stimulating absorption of calcium from the digested food. So these three important terms are very important: resorption, reabsorption and simple absorption of calcium, and therefore the blood contains high level of calcium. If it becomes too much beyond, then our TCT works to control. So there is a feedback here. When PTH increases the level of calcium and TCT brings the levels down. That's why it helps in controlling the calcium levels. So these two hormones produced by two distinct glands are very, very important to function. Now moving to thymus. Thymus' specialty of this gland is that it is present in childhood. As you reach adolescence or by 14-15 years, it slowly gets disappeared. The hormone produced by thymus gland is thymosin. It promotes differentiation of T lymphocytes and also promotes the production of antibodies from the B lymphocytes. So here I want you to remember two lymphocytes are there, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Both B and T lymphocytes are influenced by thymosin. How it influences T lymphocytes is, we know that all lymphocytes are produced by the bone marrow. We know there is a spongy substance present in the long bones, and these long bones or these spongy substance is called bone marrow, and the bone marrow produces lymphocytes. Some of the lymphocytes remains in the bone marrow. They are called B lymphocytes. And some of the lymphocytes migrate where to the thymus, which is in our chest, and they get differentiated into T lymphocytes. So the first function is differentiating of the lymphocytes into T lymphocytes. I told you all are produced in the bone marrow, some remains in the bone marrow, and the remaining migrates to the thymus where they get differentiated into the T lymphocytes. Now the B that is present in the bone marrow, the role of B is to produce antibodies. Whenever there is an infection, antibodies are produced. So the thymosin helps the B to produce the antibodies. That's how it's helping the B lymphocytes. Clear? I hope that's not confusing. Remember, lymphocytes as a whole generally is produced by the bone marrow. I told you what is a bone marrow. The long bones of our body, the limbs, have a spongy tissue called bone marrow. It synthesizes lymphocytes. Some lymphocytes remain there itself. They are called B lymphocytes because it's remaining in the bone marrow. Some migrate to the thymus where they get differentiated into the T lymphocytes. So what is bringing about the differentiation of the lymphocytes into T lymphocytes? It's our thymus. Second function, the B. How it helps the B? It helps the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies to fight with the invaders. Now moving on to the next slide. Now pancreas. The specialty of pancreas is that it is a composite gland. And if I draw the part of the digestive system where the pancreas originates, the C-shaped structure is called the duodenum, and the pancreas arise from the C-shaped duodenum like a leaf-like structure. And I told you it's a composite gland because it is both exocrine and endocrine in nature. Exocrine as well as endocrine. Exocrine is in context to digestion. It secretes digestive enzymes. And endocrine is in context to secretion of hormones. Now we are bothered of the endocrine part. So the entire structure is called the pancreas. I drew like leaf-like structure originating from the duodenum. The endocrine part is the islets of Langerhans. See? These are called the islets of Langerhans. And these islets of Langerhans, there are two types of cells in these islets. One which I indicated in white, let it be alpha, and the one which is in green, let it be beta cells. The alpha cell secretes glucagon and the beta cell secretes insulin. So, once again pancreas is a composite gland because it is both endocrine and exocrine. Now, the location of pancreas, it arises from the duodenum, I told you, like a leaf like structure, and the endocrine parts are this cluster of some cells. These clusters are known as islets of Langerhans, and this islets of Langerhans, there are nearly 2 million islets of Langerhans. There are two types of cells in them. I have given dots of green and white. Some of those cells are called the alpha cells and some are called beta cells. They occur as cluster. The alpha cell secretes glucagon and the beta cells secretes insulin. So, let us see the function of glucagon. Glucagon increases the blood sugar level by glucogenolysis and gluconeogenesis, whereas insulin decreases the blood sugar level by glycogenesis. So, this if I show you in the form of a flow chart, the concept will be made clear. The glucose of our blood is converted to a substance called glycogen and is stored in the liver. This process by which the glucose is converted to glycogen is called glycogenesis. Glycogenesis. And this is conversion of glucose to glycogen is brought about by insulin. Clear? Is this side clear? Now, the other side with another pen or color I will indicate. Glycogen is broken down to glucose. See, look at this. Glycogen is broken down to glucose by lysis. What lysis? Glycogen lysis. So, it is called glycogenolysis. We get glucose in the blood. This is brought about by glucagon. So, once again, glucose in the blood is converted to glycogen by a process called glycogenesis, which is brought about by insulin. And the glycogen is converted into glucose or broken down to glucose by a process called glycogenolysis, where it is broken down. So, remember the term genesis. Genesis stands for building and lysis stands for breaking. And remember glucose to glycogen. For glucose to be converted to glycogen, it is glycogenesis that is brought about by insulin. And for glycogen to be broken down to glucose, it is the glycogen should be broken down. So, glycogenesis. Not glycogenesis, glycogenolysis. So, to make it sound clear, they put an O, glycogenolysis. Glycogenolysis. Clear? This is clear. Okay, I hope this is clear. Once again, I am erasing and redrawing. I made the flow chart very simple. Glucose is converted to glycogen. So, what is that conversion? It is a genesis. So, it is called glycogen. Glycogen, write the full name, genesis. So, genesis we can't repeat, so just add on genesis. So, gen and will overlap with the genesis. So, this process is called glycogenesis and it is brought about by insulin. Clear? Then this side, the glycogen is broken down into glucose. So, again you are talking context to glycogen. What is happening to the glycogen? The glycogen is broken and the terminology is used glycogenolysis. Now, to sound well, we put an O. I hope this is clear. O is extra added in between to make it sound well. Okay. Actually, one is glycogenesis and the other one is glycogenolysis. To make it a complete verb, we made it glycogenolysis, and this one genesis is overlapping. So, gen is overlapping for glycogen and genesis overlapping. So, one gen we took, overlap it and we get glycogenesis. I hope this is clear. This is brought about by insulin and this side is brought about by glucagon. So, remember that Glucagon is involved in increasing the glucose by glycogenolysis, breaking of glycogen to glucose. And insulin on the other hand is involved in decreasing the glucose level by converting the glucose into glycogen by a process called glycogenesis. Clear? Then there is another extra term called gluconeogenesis, synthesis of new glucose, that is from the food. New glucose is synthesized, not with the help of hormones. From the food itself, new glucose is synthesized by the hormone glucagon, and that new glucose, from the name it's a gluconeo means new genesis. So the meaning of this, new glucose is synthesized from the food, gluconeogenesis. So if I am reiterating glucagon is secreted from alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans. It increases blood sugar level, whereas insulin secreted by beta cells of the islets of Langerhans decreases the blood sugar level. And the process by which it decreases the blood sugar by glycogenesis, and the process by which glucagon increases the blood sugar level is by these two processes. One is by glycogenolysis and the other one is by gluconeogenesis. I hope that is clear. Next, the adrenal glands. Adrenal glands, we know the adrenal glands are broadly divided into two zones, adrenal medulla and adrenal cortex. The adrenal medulla secretes the adrenaline and the noradrenaline. And the adrenal cortex secretes the three corticoids, namely glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids and gonadocorticoids. So first let us look into the hormones secreted by the adrenal medulla, that is adrenaline and noradrenaline. It has a combined effect. It is an emergency hormone. We have learned in lower class or in 10th standard, at a time of emergency these hormones are released to make us act and confront a situation. Either we flee or fight. It increases the alertness, pupillary dilation, pillow erection means our goosebumps, that is the hairs and all erects, sweating, increase heartbeat, increase heart contraction, increase the rate of respiration, increase the breakdown of glucagon, lipids and glycogen, lipids and protein, and hence the concentration of glucose in the blood increases. At that particular time, if your blood sample is checked, high glucose level in the blood, not because you are diabetic, because you have confronted an emergency situation. At that particular time you are very alert, then lots of your pupil dilate, pillow erection, your hairs erect, you have profuse sweating, your heartbeat increase, your breathing rhythm increases, then this breakdown of lipids, proteins, glycogen, etc. And at that time the level of glucose is very high in your blood. And you can handle that situation, which later on you cannot believe that you could handle. It is a situation where you either fight or you flee from the situation. It is also called fight or flight hormone or an emergency hormone. That is all about adrenaline and noradrenaline. Then moving on to the adrenal cortex, the three corticoids are glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids and gonadocorticoids. The glucocorticoids produce anti-inflammatory reactions and suppress the immune response. They also stimulates RBC formation. You know what is inflammation. When you have a cut, there is a slight inflammation. So this counteracts. They produce anti-inflammatory reaction that suppresses this inflammation. So therefore they suppress the immune response and they stimulate RBC formation. Mineralocorticoids, they help in the reabsorption of sodium and water from the renal tubule and maintains the osmotic pressure, pH and volume of the blood. We have learned the aldosterone is a mineralocorticoid which helps in the reabsorption of water and sodium from the renal tubule. We have already learned. Then gonadotropicoids. From the name itself you understand it is influencing our gonads. Here it it stimulates the growth of axial hairs, pubic hairs, facial hairs during puberty. At the time of puberty, there is a lot of hair formation, axial hairs in the armpit, then pubic in the pubic region hairs are formed, and facial on the face in boys hairs are formed. So this is the influence of the gonadocorticoids. Now moving to the next, the last slide is dealing with the gonads. The two gonads are ovaries found in females and testes found in males. The specialty of this ovaries and testes, they are called the primary sex organs. Primary sex organs, or in general they have a dual function. Now I am giving the generalized version of this. They produce gametes, and at the same time the very same structure secrete hormones. That is why they are called the primary sex organs, or they possess dual function. Now talking about ovaries in females. In females there is the ovaries. So I am substituting. They produce the gamete, egg, and they secrete the hormone estrogen and progesterone. So I have substituted. In females, ovaries are the primary sex organs. Why? They produce the gamete, egg, and they secrete two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Now in males, I am giving another color, say blue color. In males, it is the testis. That is the primary sex organ. It produces the gamete sperms and secrete the hormone testosterone. So that is a specialty of both ovaries and testis, or both the gonads. They serve as primary sex organs. Why? What is given in white is the generalized version. They produce gametes and secrete hormones. In females, that is the ovaries. The ovaries is the primary sex organ because it produces the egg and secrete two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. In males, it is the testis, and the testis produces the gametes, sperms, and secrete the hormone testosterone. So let us go into the details of each. Ovary, the first hormone, estrogen. It stimulates oogenesis. What is oogenesis? The development of egg from the oogonia. That and all will be dealing in the 12th standard. Oogenesis promotes development and maturation of the secondary sex characters. I have given it like say 2 degree, which means secondary sex organs. It stimulates development of secondary sexual characters and also influence female sexual behavior. Now here, earlier I mentioned primary sex organ. In females were the ovaries, and the secondary sex organs are the other organs associated in reproduction. So the other organs that is associated in reproduction, the uterus, fallopian tube, etc., etc. So the other secondary sex organs. Primary sex organs is the ovaries, and I justified why it is the ovary, because it produces the egg and at the same time secrete the hormones estrogen and progesterone. Now secondary sex characters. Now we are coming to characters. Secondary sex characters are the characters that develop at the time of puberty. So what are the characters that develop at the time of puberty in females? Widening of hip, development of breast, development of hairs, etc., etc. So they are the secondary sex characters. So what will be the primary sex characters? Primary sex characters is when the child is born, we are able to identify it's a male or female. That is a primary character that distinguishes male and female. You all know it very well. And the primary sex organs I have already defined, it's having dual function. Secondary sex organs are the sex organs that helps, or the associated structures of the reproductive system which helps in reproduction. Characteristics, remember, secondary is only the characteristics or features that develop at the time of puberty. So once again, if I am explaining, stimulates oogenesis, that is development of egg, promotes development and maturation of the secondary sex organs, that is development of the uterus, fallopian tube, breast, etc., sex organ. Then stimulates the development of the secondary sex characters. Characters, as I told, the shape, enlargements, etc., and also the female sexual behavior. Then the second hormone, progesterone, maintains pregnancy and prepares mammary glands for lactation. This is also present in females before reproduction. It is also produced after ovulation in higher amounts, but mainly it plays an important role to maintain pregnancy. That's why progesterone is called also a pregnancy hormone. And also it prepares mammary glands for lactation. So that's a significant role comes only after reproduction. So that's all about the two hormones of the ovaries. Now over to testis. Testis only secretes one hormone, testosterone. On the same lines of estrogen, it stimulates spermatogenesis. There we learned oogenesis, yes, spermatogenesis. So definitely you can understand what is spermatogenesis. It is development of sperms from the spermatogonia. There it was development of eggs from the oogonia. Here it's development of sperms from the spermatogonia. Then same, promotes development and maturation of the secondary sex organs, stimulates development of the secondary sexual characteristics and influence sexual desire, which is found only in males, that is libido. Sexual desire, which is very prominent in males, that is called libido. Now talking about the male primary sex organs, we know testis, and I already justified by testis it produces both the gamete, sperm and the hormone testosterone. That's why the primary sex organ is the testis. Secondary sex organs are the other structures associated with the male reproductive system. Which are the other structures? The penis. And in 12th we will be learning other structures. As of now, remember penis. And the secondary sexual characters, the beard, mush, the musculature, the voice, cracked voice in males. All these are secondary sexual characters which are developed in puberty. Okay. So you have to identify between primary and secondary sex organ, that you have to be aware. Primary sex organs are the organs that produces both the gamete and secrete the hormones. So in females it is the ovaries, in males it is the testis. And the secondary sex organs will be the other associated structures of the reproductive system. In males, the other associated structures, as of now you remember only uterus and fallopian tube. In males, the other associated structures is the penis. Then about the characteristics, secondary sexual characteristics are the characteristics that develop only at the time of puberty. From puberty it develops, and by adulthood it's full-fledged developed. So the secondary sexual characters in females, you can list out some secondary sexual characters which you are aware, and also some secondary sexual characters in males which are developed at the time of puberty. Clear? So with that we come to the end of this video, which deals with hormones released from different endocrine glands with their functions. I hope you have understood. Thank you.